You know, that I can't move, obviously, otherwise I'm going to kill myself. But,
Motorized one?
yeah. No, it's just like a big one with a big ass wheels. Like a huge one, like exactly Professor Xavier. That'd be funny. And you get a big ass recliner.
I like
That'd
it.
be funny.
I like it. All right, guys. So we are here in sunny San Diego, nearing the end of the day.
The weather is a bit better than in Holland.
Miles better. We have
with our setup improved.
Yeah, we have a lot more space. No pool table. We got sweet chairs.
Yeah, we have like nice chairs that
The little
move.
secret they don't know too about the chairs we sit on in your house. They're all fine. They're wooden. It's comfortable as a plain wooden dining room chair can be, except one of them.
It's broken.
But you don't really know. Like one of them is broken in a way where if you were to just sit on it and slide forward, you would fucking die.
That's why I never do it. That's why I never slide forward. Yeah, exactly.
So
you have to know how to.
So we're living a lot less dangerously now. So this episode is actually going to come out kind of right away.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be putting this out for, is it the month of January, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. And so for the month of January, you want to tell them what you wanted to do?
Yes. So we started all this in November with a no-fix November. But the idea was to remove the sympathetic fixes. Then from there, we went to Disney December. The idea was to, by the way, some people were mistaken about a few points about the Disney December. A lot of them were like, there's a better way to do VO2 max training than Disney December. I was like, I said that in the podcast. That the point that, first of all, what is the first thing that I see in the podcast, I believe that comes in the first 2 minutes, is this is not a workout.
Yes.
I believe I said that right away. And yet, some people say, but there's a better way to do VO2 max. It's not a workout.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
And I think that comes into pretty common. When we attach that word to it, that becomes all of a sudden the metric that people want. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to improve VO2 max. Like, well, this wasn't meant to be.
So they went into like high intensity training. It's better to improve VO2 max. I'm like, that is true. Sorry. But if you look at all that, let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
Before we go, because that explains better even what's coming. And there's a plane.
Sorry, I don't think that'll be a problem.
No, yeah. It's like, imagine there's an arch. On one side, you have basically, let's imagine a lactate arch, right? Using versus producing. On one side, you have producing, which is VLA max training, which is producing as much lactate as you can. On the other side, you have just using it, not producing any, or at lower level, just using it. That would be the Disney December. What they're talking about, like there's a better VO2 max training, is the center, where you do both at the same time. And it's true, you raise your VO2 max level faster this way with high intensity training like CrossFit. Mm-hmm. But there's a downside to that. The downside to that is you are not producing as much lactate as, let's say, a sled sprint or stuff like that. So what you're actually doing like that is learning to produce less lactate. So you're raising your VO2 max, but you're lowering your VLA max.
You're just gradually dampening.
Right. That's why, for example, if you took a sprinter and you make him do CrossFit, you'll kill his speed. Mm-hmm. The only way a sprinter can train is full blast 60-meter sprints or Disney December. If you get him in the middle, his VO2 max will improve, but his sprinting will come down because his VLA max will go down.
He doesn't really need it, not in the expression of his skill.
No, he barely needs any. Yeah. But even a 400-meter runners, they do a lot of 100-meter sprints, 200-meter sprints to build that, that capacity that even 100 meters is almost anaerobic at that stage. You know what I mean? So if you do like those CrossFit workouts, the problem is over time you become less good at producing VLA max training. So you still need both. Anyway, so the Disney December was not a workout. It was just for you to learn to use the lactate that you normally produce. And we established a high frequency sound to promote safety. So that basically to promote a vagal response to keep you as much as we could in flow during an exercise, because flow and fight have to work together. So there is some lactate being produced because you're exercising, but mostly you learning to use it as fuel. So oxidation and everything. And the Disney December has worked really well for anxiety and other stuff like that. So Call it active recovery if you want.
Yeah.
I call it emotional recovery because it allows you to chase the rabbit mentally and all that stuff.
Or like active meditation. I thought we worked pretty hard to make sure that the terminology we used.
I thought it was we call it active meditation. Yeah, and still people like VO2 max is not like that. Like you guys need to listen.
But that we run into that quite often
where people don't listen.
Well, it's that too, but also I think a lot of it is you're just trained and conditioned over your whole life about objectives.
To not listening.
Objectives.
Yeah.
Objectives, meaning they see it and want VO2 max. Like it just
so you're saying
that's the connection.
They hear what they want to hear.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Not in a malicious way.
No, you be nice, I be daddy.
That's
there
true.
you go. No, but seriously, like how many times do I have to repeat something before?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I get not frustrated, but I'm like, are you guys, you're morons. Let's put it this way. The medical term. You know that moron is a medical term first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, see, it applies.
We're taking it back.
Exactly. It's a medical term. I can use it.
So for me, I guess a quick recap for me with the active meditation stuff.
Right.
I am so bad with nasal breathing and so bad at down regulating. Yeah. This was a very fundamental
it was hard, huh?
fucking thing for me that consisted of walking and failing and not even the panic, but just it's like, man, at any pace. For me, the nasal breath was the primary constraint because otherwise I'd just do.
Exactly.
And so,
right back.
And so I was able to be more familiar with that, and that was good. That started to progress. Then, however, I've been doing some other things with my training that I think having this better down regulation skill, if you will, like at least more time where I'm not spent either out, like putting out effort or being crushed.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden I had the ability to put out greater intensity in my training.
Right.
So what I did, I think still, the problem was I kept pushing the intensity, but I didn't progress this as much as I should have.
No, you just need to do more of it. Then.
Yes.
Like for once.
And I think it needs more time.
Yeah,
like
that's
for me, because I do, I mean, anything that I do trying to maintain nasal breath is an exercise in frustration and for me.
So remember, like No Fix November took you 3 weeks?
Yep,
it's the same thing with Disney December. I think it'll take a few months.
Yeah. And I think too, I do need to build beyond the point where I need to be able to move at a higher rate than just walking with it.
Eventually.
Because then I think that'll be something that'll give me a better
more progress out of it.
Because the little bit that I got out of it, I put into smashing on the other end. And I'm trying to message Julia and I'm like, listen, it's going good.
But I'm so fucking sore.
But I am fucking just destroyed.
Right. But remember so your training was rest or flight, in a way. Past the anaerobic threshold, like just killing yourself every time. Well, that's the arch we just posted on the StrongFit community where really where we want is the flow, fight, flow.
Yeah.
And exercise is fight, flow. That's where we want to be, where there's production of lactate and what they call lactate clearance, which I feel is a misnomer because it's not clearance. It's using it as fuel. Yeah, exactly. There's lactate production, lactate consumption. This is where the body is at its best.
Yeah.
And so the Disney December was to teach you to use it because if you produce and you don't use it, we're going to talk about this. There's major problem that come about. The other part of the Disney December that I found very interesting with the high frequency sound is the intrusive thought patterns not happening. I had the hardest time, me, with cardio, because one of my problem was the second I started to do cardio, my mind went all over the fucking place, and every time in a violent place. I ended up choking people, killing them, or I could not, or, going into places where I was like, can you stop, please, for a second? And with the Disney December, I can focus in a very flow type way that gives me a break from my own, constantly spinning mind to the point that I've used that music to read, to do stuff like that. It brings a calm. It's just like my brain is not coming with like 60 different form of thought patterns, just attacking me, pounding me constantly. So I thought the exercise and that combined worked with the nasal breathing worked so well.
Yeah.
And actually I'm actually a much better pace at running. My heart rate is probably a bit higher, probably around 130. I say 120 it's again, it's a guideline. It's more an idea of like you feel what it's like to be at 120. And now I've raised it a little bit, but not that much. But the key for me is always intrusive thought patterns. If they happen, that means I'm going too fast. And I play with that. I go a little bit faster, and within 3 minutes, my thought pattern changes. It comes from being in flow, meditative, like thinking about good stuff, positive thinking. If I go a little bit faster, it goes toward, usually for me, it's physical violence, jiu-jitsu, or like, I become combative. Maybe not violent, but I become combative.
Yeah.
I start to go, I start to get pissed at things.
Yeah.
And it's literally my pace that establishes that. So for me, the key was, first of all, stay at the pace.
Is it once you start slipping beyond a certain pace, then...
And if I go too slow, I get bored.
Because exactly, and that's
and I can't think. So
for me, the issue I
There's a flow.
had like you said with the thoughts thing, just trying to keep my fucking head. I think anyone who does any form of meditation, that's the nature of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the nature of it. Is like learning to let the stuff come and let it go, and not be occupied. And I get things come in, I just chase. And so it was frustrating, but it improved greatly.
But me, nothing came with the music.
Nothing.
I got to a stage, nothing comes. I can literally focus in for 45 minutes, and I'm just like everything flows. Nothing comes in.
Yeah.
So it's such a break for me.
So we did the
right. So the
No Fix November though was, I think, to establish just a real clear nutritional base, right? Kind of.
No, yes.
Signals.
To show you where the signals
separate food and behavior,
exactly.
like all that shit, right?
I think that was the main point.
And I think that
did that.
In my opinion, I think that could run people well over a month, in my opinion.
I'm still on No Fix November.
For me, it was 3 weeks before, like all of a sudden, I felt much better.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. For a lot of people, I was like, coming in a month of that, it might be 6 to 8 weeks before, depending on.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But then we did the Disney December, which is to kind of build your.
Yeah, but that one you want to keep.
No, but I mean, Disney December is to how would I explain this? To kind of develop your skill on that one side of the arch.
Exactly.
To give you the capacity to.
Now what?
From a lactate standpoint, though, right? To use it, right?
Yeah. Now what?
And now what?
So now we have to produce.
Okay.
So to go back to your point, No Fix November, if you're going to do 2 months, I do it twice a year.
Okay.
If not 3 times a year.
Okay.
Right. Disney December, just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Don't go off.
I don't think it's something. I would consider it more of just a general practice.
It's a requirement.
Yeah.
I see it as a requirement.
Yeah.
The effects on anxiety have been crazy. Even noticed. I think everybody should stay on it. Like I definitely will.
Well, and I think my wife had a similar experience where when she did it, she wanted to kind of start to game it a little bit, figure out numbers into it, and
everybody does.
But it's good because when you then say, fuck, you catch yourself doing that.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right,
again,
I need to.
right?
You're like, okay, now I need to figure out. I know what this thing is supposed to be, and what about me is making me fucking jam this shit in front of this thing.
Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this,
exactly.
right? And so I think that's a lot of where the progress is figuring out where you're in your own way.
Well, yeah, behavior.
Yeah.
Always. All of this is about behavior.
So when we talk about now for
so
January.
Now, lactate consumption, to consume it, you have to produce it.
Yes.
Right. So that's going to be January. January is going to be the burn the question. January, I wish I'd come up with a better. You know what I thought about? You remember that Mongolian hard rock group? Yul. I wanted to say January 3 YK or some shit like that because of that group. Because my idea was to use that music for people to do sled sprints.
I got a better playlist, but.
Fuck no, this is so good. Like, did you listen to it?
I've listened to it.
Oh, come on. Anyway, right. So January is going to be the burn the question month of January, which means you're going to learn to produce lactate. So you can do it many different ways. My favorite one is still the sled.
Yeah.
There's no way around. And so what do we mean by that? For example, I have a workout that I like a lot. You start with a sled, you put as much weight as need be to go for a certain distance in 12 seconds. Mm-hmm. Right, so whatever weight to go a specific distance in 12 seconds.
Okay.
Right, so which means you make that distance in 11.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's round number one. You're gonna do an EMOM, which means you're gonna do that on the minute. So it's 11.5 seconds, then you get 48.5 seconds to recover, then you do it again. So on the minute. at the moment where it takes you more than 15 seconds to clear that distance, you're done.
Okay.
Right? So most people right now are thinking 8, 10, right? You won't make it to 5. It is surprising. All the game athletes, the CrossFit game athlete that I put on, did not make it to 5. They didn't. By 5, they went over 15 seconds. Like, it's the crazy thing. Like, the best I've ever done, I think, was 8. But that's because, all glutes and that producing lactate, I'm good at it.
Yeah.
That was my thing. But you won't make it to 10. If you make it to 10, you're cheating on the first set, which, by the way, happens a lot. People will game it to make it to 12. And we're going to talk about this at the end.
There's often 2 little ways you can, with some of the time training stuff I've been doing too, where you can just fuck up. You're like, I'm misloaded. And it's like, you know what I mean? You're like, I got the wrong response.
One time, that's fine.
Now I've corrected
Fix
that.
it for the next one. So you can also take a sled and do a 200-meter sled sprint. And basically what you want is you want to die at 150, right?
I was trying to tell people 50.
Well, that's mean. And you're going to do 200 meters. The key is you're not allowed to stop.
Yep.
Like, hopefully you're not walking.
Yeah.
But you're never allowed to stop. And then we're going to talk about people gaming it because they're missing the point of all this. But those are the kind of workouts that I want for January. So what they're going to do twice a week a burn the question workout. So you can do it with drags. You can do it, try to do a drag for like the 12 seconds and that'll be mean. What you can do is you can do other stuff that we like, which is, for example, that was one I made all the Invictus CrossFit Games athletes do. It was like 3 sets. We started with drags. Mm-hmm. Drags first, 3 sets, 100 feet, right? You get 2-minute rest. Then you do 3 sets of the harness.
Yeah.
Forward max weight for 100 feet. Same thing with, competing each other. And then at the end, it's the sprint itself, 3 sets of 100 feet, but max speed. And by that, you are absolutely thrashed. What we're trying to get after is the anaerobic threshold.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that I talked about extensively. It's been around we'll finish the podcast with that. But the anaerobic threshold is also called the lactate threshold. Is when you're reaching that moment where you just cannot oxidate the lactate anymore. You cannot use it as fuel anymore, just producing so much. You are shifting to flight where other modes of energy coming, like lipolysis, like cortisol is pumping, adrenaline, all that stuff, because literally you're thinking you're about to die.
Yeah, your body is going to start to consolidate everything that it has into energy.
Funny thing is he cannot use lactate as fuel anymore. So he uses other stuff. And then that's when he uses fat, lipolysis. Cortisol liquefies bone and muscle to get energy. Adrenaline is pumping, all that stuff is just going through the roof because literally the body thinks the bear is coming, like you're going to die. So that's your panic mode starting. So you're trying to reach that point. Don't worry, you won't, because your mind will never let you go there, actually. Like some people go like, you'll pass out before you'll
get shut
I was
off.
a master at it and
I can tell you there's some symptoms with which you cannot push through.
Yeah.
Some of them are you'll go ghost white. You will.
But that's when you reached it.
Your lips will turn blue.
Yeah, we had that many times.
That.
I had the black dude turn gray.
My wife,
like his forehead was gray. It was the funniest shit ever.
My wife, I had her do that on the leg press with some of our timed intensity
if
things
you go
on
hard
it.
Enough.
She gets done and is blue in the lips.
And
like
you
I
always
thought she
see
was
the
fucking
forehead.
drowning.
And I remember like the sweating from the forehead.
Yeah.
It's funny. The forehead becomes white, but like white, like Casper.
I've actually seen it almost go from the forehead down to the face. You can almost watch the line.
And
move.
they're gonna puke within the next 30 seconds. Like it's a funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
But so the idea is for the month of January, I want you to go there twice a week because you're gonna learn to produce lactate. You have to understand that. So producing lactate to that moment, that's the anaerobic threshold, the lactate threshold. That means when you go past that, you go in flight panic mode and then you just basically crumble. It would take an actual bear to allow you to go past that.
Yeah.
You can train yourself though to go further into fight before switching to flight, which to me is one of the most important skills that you can develop. You can actually push the lactate threshold. You can learn to be able to go harder, further, before switching to flight. That switch to flight is the lactate threshold. We measure that with Wim, even on marathon runners, and we saw, even from them explaining, like we saw pupil dilation and everything.
And with lactate.
And with lactate and all that stuff. We saw the moment that anaerobic threshold, lactate threshold happens is when you switch to flight.
And that's when the lactate in the system just goes
because you can't clear
there's
it
fucking
anymore.
Nowhere for this to go.
And you go, it's okay, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's the flight mode. So that's when you pump adrenaline. So you have to understand that. Now, what does that mean, passing that anaerobic threshold, lactate threshold? That means you're going full-blown sympathetic. What does that mean? That means coordination goes out the window. That means you're pumping cortisol, adrenaline. You are producing a massive amount of energy to get away from the bear. But you have no control whatsoever on your movements, on coordination goes out the window, as I said, like it has severe repercussions physically and stuff like that. This is a place where you don't want to go. It's your emergency button that you don't want to reach, basically. So what I want you, through the Burn the Question January, is to push that further. We saw that with the marathon runners where they're able to stay at 1 hour at 170 BPM heartbeat. Isn't that insane, right? I don't know why you want to do that, but whatever. But they were able to go from 170 to 178 by learning to push at anaerobic threshold.
Which then means greater output, greater speed, greater
faster,
power.
exactly.
And yet it's not costing you any more as far as resources.
Because you're still oxidating the lactate, so it's still fine.
Yeah.
So that's,
whereas before, that difference between 170 and 178, now you're on a ticking clock.
Right. And remember, this is also the arch between aerobic and anaerobic. So it's literally, it's the top of the arch. Now, that anaerobic threshold is the key because that's what allows you to fight longer. Yeah. If you can work on it, you'll be able to apply it to everything else. So now let's talk about what people misunderstand about, before I explain a bit more why toward the lactate, what people fuck that up. They think all they have to do is to get that burn feeling and everything. I've seen so many people game this. It's like if you're doing a 20-minute AMRAP of rope pulls, you're not reaching the anaerobic threshold. If you're doing a mile push on the sled, it's not anaerobic threshold. If you're
it's not fun, by the way. I've done it. It's not fun.
We've done it. No,
it's not fun.
That's
but it's a different
else.
thing. But that's just not what that thing is.
If you're doing a 400 meter sprint, this is people too. If I say 200 meters, they'll go 400 meters. You're not tougher than me, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know you're trying to prove that you can do. No, this is all you're doing really is wussing out. Yeah. Because
and
trust me,
your time.
200 meters hurts a lot more than 400 meters. Because 400 meters, you're just pacing. Again, we're going back to people that want to use what they already produce. Right? So they go to the top of the arch. But by doing that, you're going to lower your capacity to produce lactate. That means that over time, you're going to get slower and slower and slower.
Yeah, how can I shift this so it looks like something I'm more comfortable with?
That's really what this is. And that's why when I show workouts online and then people say, yeah, I'm doing it too. I'm like, no, you're not. Look at me doing it, see me die at 2 minutes. And they go, oh, it's because you're a strong man, you don't have cardio. I'm like, no, dude, it's because I push. Like, that's a conversation I had with Valerie when I was training her. It's like, she brought some friends who need 3-4 sets to go to where she would need 1 or 2. And she said, like, why are they doing so much better? I'm like, they're not. You are doing better. You can push in 1 set to where they need 4, and they're finishing going like, I'm fine. What does that tell you? That they are incapable of pushing the fight enough to get to flight. So what does that mean? That means you can't push the intensity.
Yeah.
So don't give me the 20-minute bullshit, like rope pull or stuff like that. You're not doing shit. You're doing good for VO2 max training, so you're getting yourself in a good condition to do a lot of rope pulls.
Yeah. And there's a place for all of it, but that's all you do. Is not the place.
This is all you do, though.
Yeah.
That means that you want to do that once in a while, fine. But you also need one where 100 feet, max weight, you pull, and by the time you pull, you finish your forearms, your biceps, your teres major, your pecs are cramping to the point where you're for 5 minutes in a ball on the ground.
Yeah, I would say that this is the piece that I was able to do really well just because it's kind of just the way that I have always trained and done sport.
Yep.
Is a total lack of flow and just executing and just doing. I don't know. It's just whatever. It's just game time. That's why I call it burn the question.
Yeah, but the problem is there's been a bastardization of that because
there's a lot of fake ass intensity out there right now.
Because it fucking hurts. It hurts when you do it. Like, who wants to? You know when you know you're doing it good when you start forming your legs on the parking lot.
Yeah.
If you have not done that, you don't know what intensity is.
Yeah.
If you have not literally started to go, if the cramping in your leg has not gotten worse every minute of your rest time, you don't know what training hard is. You don't know what pushing the sled hard enough means. Like literally minute 1, you go like, that hurts. Minute 2, you go like, that really hurts. Minute 3, you go like, it's getting fucking worse.
Yep.
Minute 5, you're screaming, rolling yourself on your stomach on the parking lot in torrents, dirty and everything, just so you can get the cramping out of your quads. If you have not done that, you don't know what intensity is. And I try to get, like you need, I do 5 sets, I would do like maybe 2 sets of drags, 1 harness, maybe 2, right? A sprint, and I was there. I needed 5, 6 sets, and I would just murder myself. But that's the intensity that you need. That's why it's called burn the questions, because you have to go to a place where there is nothing.
Yeah.
For me, when I was on it, there was only one thing. It's like the sound of my feet is telling Hades that I'm coming. That at the end of that parking lot, I will die, but I'm letting Hades know that my seat is taken.
Your approach is much tougher sounding than mine. Mine is like, basically, once it gets so bad, the first thing that pops in my head is, why the fuck are you doing this?
No, I went through that as well. But that's where the burn the question came from. Is because I went through that and I was sometimes training by myself, where I had, and that was the key for me, was to look at the sled going like, all right, you can quit right now. You have all reason in the world to quit. What is that extra set going to give you? Why 100 feet? Why not making it 300 feet? Because then you can pace. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why am I doing this? It was a lot of why everywhere. I was like, there is no need to do an extra set. No one is watching anyway. You're not going to put it on Instagram and Facebook, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
No one can see. There's no chick looking to see how strong I am. I can't take my shirt off. There's no one to see it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's not a laundry list of women out there that are just looking for a guy who can push the sled the best.
They so don't care. They absolutely do not give it. It's amazing. If I'd known that at 18, I would have maybe made different life choices. But
should have just gotten one of them jobs with money.
Fuck yeah. Like look at, what's his name, Dan Blitzerian or whatever, like take up poker. He works better than the sled, I can tell you that. Anyway, but so I reached that stage in my training where I was like, exactly. There is nothing but me and that sled. And so who will win though? And that was my thing. Me, I was like, I will stomp my feet into the ground so loud, Hades will hear me. And that's the point. Because there was no question left. At some point, I'm like, I'm doing it because I said I would. There is no more questions. And
there
that's
is no more why I'm here. There is no more how often am I going to keep, it's just.
And that's when you're winning. Yeah. When you can get to that stage, and so that's where burn the question comes from, because that's from Heidegger, where the thing was is that there's a moment where like being requires that, where you have to burn the questions. You have to look at that sled, and there is just you and the sled, and we are going there. There is no why. It's going to get done.
Yeah.
And this is the difference between planning and perseverance. Planning is about understanding what you're going to do and what you're going to get out of what you're going to do. Perseverance is about understanding what happens if you don't do something. Understanding the consequences of not doing. Planning is understanding the consequences of what doing is. And I looked at the sled and I was like, what if I quit halfway? And that's when I was like, no. Because what it meant for that sled to win, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And so that became the why. So there was no why. They were just, I understood perseverance at that moment. I understood that not doing this, the consequences of not doing it, of quitting halfway.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to look at myself in the mirror the next day. And if I want fear in life, I think I've said that before, but if I want fear in life is one day I'll die. It'll be the day I'm on my deathbed. I will take a look at my life. And if I know the man that I will be, then he will have a harsh view on things in general. And the one thing I'm afraid of is that man looking at his life and going, That is my greatest fear in life. My only fear in life is I will not get to my deathbed going,
Right.
I want to go going like, fuck, man, That was trying. I might have fell left and right, but fuck it, I went for it.
Yeah.
And I will not be on my deathbed looking like you didn't finish that run.
Yeah.
That will not be my thought pattern on my deathbed. And so when I see the sled, that's what I see.
Yeah. And because when we talk about setting constraints and setting the intent behind this thing, the intent in this whole thing is to basically learn to push and set your whole fucking world on fire.
Exactly. But not go in flight.
Exactly. But you have
Not
to be,
panic.
which means you have to be leaning into it. And
so
the
strong
whole
mentally.
time.
So it teaches you to be strong mentally because your whole body is going to want to go into flight.
Yeah.
Flight means it's going to freak out, which means you can't do the exercise anymore because skill goes out of the way, and you fail. Right? The key is, will you be strong enough to deny the flight?
Yeah.
Like at the arch we posted, the key is flow fight, which means we need both sides to work together. How strong is your parasympathetic side? How strong is your flow under pressure? That's what Burn the Question is about. You're going to need, it's not going to happen the first week, but you're going to need to train yourself in order to be able to push that flight to not go into flight. And how far can you push? How much pain can you be in and not go into flight?
Do you now answer this for me? Don't you think though that you will still finish in flight at the end of this if you're doing it right? All I know is when I'm done, there's no fight.
After, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But while I'm doing it, until I reached, because there was a line. So that's why I put just enough weight on it that I knew that the last 10 feet, probably the last 50 feet, yeah, exactly, were hell on earth.
Yeah.
But I was not going to stop. And then once I stop, my whole body goes to shit.
Yeah. So no matter what, I mean, that's what I wanted to say is to like...
You will cross the anaerobic threshold.
Yeah.
You will cross that moment where you can't oxidize the lactate anymore. So you will pass that, but you will pass the anaerobic threshold after you're done.
Yeah.
And then when the whole thing comes up, the pain is unbearable. But that's why the cramping gets worse and worse and worse, because your whole body seizes up, goes into
I always
flight.
like to get as familiar with that point as early as I can in the game, in a push like that. Where for me it's like, no, I'm just gonna fucking get into it like stupid reckless. So when I do a sled sprint, this is what I tell people too. Is like I said, I say 50 meters. Treat this like it's a 50-meter race, even though it's 200.
Yep.
And we just sell out.
Yeah.
And then what are you gonna do for
die.
the next 150? You're gonna fucking hate everything probably, and you're gonna just be going.
Oh no, you're gonna hate everything for the next 15 minutes.
Yes. but that I think also like. You're not going to get this probably right the first time. I mean, if you take that approach, you might end up fucking totally in flight, crushed for half the fucking thing. And it'll be sad and disappointing. But then the next time you're going to fight harder. The thing I liked about this, though, that I don't know if we brought up before, I think we have, is that what intensity gives you, similar to what we talk about with the West scale, right?
Yeah.
So, because they're kind of on the same boat, right? So
it's the same idea.
They're correlated. But with the intensity, I want people to learn that they can push. So their bodies learn that you can push really hard, go to that, not just your muscles hurting, but like your lungs, your heart, everything screaming at you.
I will go, yeah.
And so I want people to get to that point. And then what happens is the next morning, because you have your body's shutting you down, like no.
Yep.
But the next morning you wake up, because it's low on the West scale, you can get up and you can go, oh, well, about 12 hours ago, my body was the closest it's ever been to thinking it's going to die. At least this week. You know what I mean? At least this week.
No, every single time. Yeah.
And then what happens is you look in the mirror and your body goes, well, you're not sore.
You're fine.
No, it's centered. You're not sore, which means then it doesn't have to correct things down to say we're not letting you do that again. What you get then is permission for more, because it was safe, which means now that red line for you is within your safe space, which means you can push that further and further and further. And you can progress intensity just like you can almost a strength or anything.
So will you let me go into a little rabbit hole on this one to explain why we're doing this? Because I think I still on target pretty,
we're doing great.
Good. So this will go directly to your sense of self.
Yeah.
Like even from a spiritual perspective, we can talk about it. For me, it's like, well, what do you want out of life? Do you want Hades to hear your footsteps? Or are you going to die without scars? Is that what you want? I mean, so there was that aspect also, is like, what do you want to accomplish out of this? But I'll have memories.
Yeah.
Because that's what life is. It's
Yeah.
a bunch of moments with a bunch of stuff in between. But if you can't push the fight, then what are you here for?
Yeah.
Anyway, but for now, from a physiological perspective, why is it the sense of self? Because it relates to the heart. Right? So we talked a little bit about the heart, but so let me explain why it matters. Lactate is a fuel for the heart. We know that. The importance of the heart is, I don't think it's underrated. I think it's not even misunderstood. I think it's not understood. For what tinfoil hat
I'm in.
for a second.
I'm already in.
I believe that even though this has been tested and is known in the medical world, no one talks about the heart. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Because it brings us back 500 years where the brain was not, you know what I mean, like to magical thinking, and they just don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Western science has been a science of reduction, and they just don't want to go backwards on stuff like that, even though the evidence points us specifically to another place. We talked about the heart and the sense of self. Like, so lactate is the fuel for the heart, and pushing your heart that much will have direct effect on your sense of self. So I do believe that learning to fight through stuff like that will give you greater confidence, will make you a better person. I truly believe that. So now let me go at it from a physiological perspective. What we don't know about the heart. The heart is a brain. The heart has neurons. It has ganglia, and inside those ganglia, there's from 2 to 1,500 neurons per, right? He has memory, short-term, long-term memory. It produces norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine. Did you do that? Do you know that the heart produces as much oxytocin as the brain?
Of course I don't know that.
Isn't that shit crazy?
Yeah.
Right. The electromagnetic field that the heart produces is 60 times stronger than the one the brain produces. The magnetic field that the heart produces is 100 times stronger than the one the brain produces. The magnetic field has been proven, right, to carry information about your state of being. They did it through ACG. I have actually the stuff where people going through, like being content or stuff like that, and they were showing on the ACG through the heart the difference between that versus anger.
Yeah.
So through the heart, perceiving all that stuff, it translates that to a magnetic field that goes around 3 meters around you, 100 times stronger than the one your brain produces. We're talking aura, basically.
Yeah, and how much, obviously, we talked in the past too, even like with the tapeworm thing, about how the electromagnetic field can essentially control the way
epigenetics, a lot of epigenetics
where your
works.
genes express, and so that's very
But who has the stronger electromagnetic field? The heart does, not the brain. Yeah. So most of what the Asian culture call aura would be centered in the heart, not the brain.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is proven. I can show you the graph. They've been shown that information about your state is carried out through the magnetic field. And so the question I've heard, does it affect others or stuff like that? But all this is out there being proven. The heart is a brain. It's his own nervous system. Mm-hmm. It creates his own signals by itself. There is more communication going from the brain, from the heart to the brain than there is going from the brain to the heart. So take that with the enteric nervous system and the gut flora. That means we have 3 brains.
Yeah.
We have 4 nervous systems. Like demons, because I'm reading the Demon Slayer right now. That brings me back to that one. Demon Slayer is pretty cool. Like the heart is that it produces as much oxytocin as the brain. How this is known? This is a biological fact. Do you ever hear about that shit?
Now the question is, though, what does that have to do with this?
Right. So lactate is a fuel for the heart.
Okay.
Right. We know that the heart links directly to the sense of self through the default mode network, the test negative network and everything. Being able to, so then there's that paper that I show on the deep sea divers that were showing that the heart is at the most precise when the parasympathetic and the sympathetic work together. They were showing that you can produce more energy, long story short, in sympathetic, but that the heart is at its most precise when the parasympathetic and the sympathetic work together.
The top of the arch.
Top of the arch. Flow under pressure. Okay. Pressure with flow. So your fight mode, like the graph that I showed, the flow fight. fight flow. The fight flow is where your heart is at its best. It's pumping and using lactate. That's where you are at your maximum fight, is right before the flight, right before the anaerobic threshold. And you can push that. So you can push, by doing that, you can push your sense of self further. Your confidence, your who you are. You can become a better human being. Physiologically speaking.
Yeah.
Everything that I read points to the same part, to that.
This is something now that you had brought up since the very beginning. This has been a piece
Barbell Shrug podcast.
Yeah, this has been a piece of the training.
Well, that's what people know me for.
Yeah, and I remember hearing about it first, and that the Burn the Questions segment, I think that was a piece that connected to me and to a lot of people from that, because for me, I hadn't got to the point where I was like pacing a bunch of shit yet.
Yeah. Yet. Was getting there.
So what happens is though, that's the part where it's like you really take pride in your ability to just fucking go out and crush yourself in some training. And so when I heard that, it was like, oh, I got permission. That makes sense. And so that was great. And I think the other side is a lot of people also, it connects to them because maybe it strikes a little deep in the things that they know they're not doing. Like fuck, I do stay away from that really nasty place. A lot of people think that they, because here's the truth. If you told me you spent 20 minutes in the fucking pain cave, you spent 0 minutes.
Yeah.
You spent maybe 1 or 2 minutes in the pain cave.
Maybe.
It's
not the pain cave. It's not the same thing. Yeah. It's like running a hard 800 meter.
Yeah.
You're going to die.
Yeah.
Like your lungs are going to burn. But that's not what we're talking about. That is not the anaerobic threshold. That's something else. That's the pain that an 800 meter can bring you. And don't get me wrong.
It's a lot.
It's so painful. Right, but it's your lungs burning. It's not quite the same. It's not quite the same. Like this is, we're talking like anaerobic threshold.
Yeah. You're
not going to do that on an 800 meter run, and you're not going to do that in a 12-minute CrossFit workout. Don't get me wrong. Of course it hurts, but that's not what we're talking about. Those CrossFit workouts, what they do is they raise the VO2 max a lot. The VLA max over time will actually start to come down because you're just not pushing that capacity anymore. Like for the first 2 years, as usual, of course you will, but anything works with someone who comes into something new.
Yeah.
The key is eventually that you will just learn to pace, and which is necessary to do things well. Like this is, so that Burn the Question is that one place where the only way you do better is by dying faster.
Yeah. The thing is, it's so simple, and it's the furthest thing from easy, but it is really simple. Just get out there on that fucking sled.
A sled, that's it, right? And we can do it. So doing it with a rope pull is harder. Like that requires.
Yeah, only for me because it's just not as challenging. If I'm being honest,
it takes a while.
It's not. They don't, in my opinion, it's not taxing enough to big enough muscle groups for me, to where I can bring like, you know what I mean? Like I can go.
I have a few interesting,
But like if I'm just doing rope pulls, I don't quite get to that place necessarily. But if I get in the sled, because my heart rate is going to go much higher, because I think there's just greater oxygen demand on the sled.
So much pain on the rope pull. Doesn't matter. As you said, it's harder to get there for most people, right? So what we do is we'll post some workouts, but it's the drags, the sprints, the harness.
Yeah.
Those three. But again, not on the sled sprint, it's one time 200 meters. If you're doing it twice 200 meters, you haven't done shit.
Yeah.
If you
do it today and you do it again tomorrow,
you haven't done shit. If you can do 5 sets, you haven't done any.
Yeah.
It's normally, honestly, if you go hard, you do 2 sets of drags. You do 2 sets of harness. You do 2 sets of 100 feet sprint. But you want to do that and then you finish with a 200 meter, okay, but just know that doing more means you're doing less. Stop the pacing. That's not what the Burn the Question is. I am so tired of seeing people tagging me on stuff where I'm like, you didn't do shit. That's at the time where I was making, remember the selfie?
Yes.
With my tongue out and everything. People came to see, like, well, I want to see. And they all left in the same place. I was like, yeah. By the way, they didn't even train with me because they didn't make it.
Yeah.
People that came to train with me did not make it through the session. I was like, yeah, that's my once a week, but it's coming. And they never made it till the end of the session. That's why we stopped training together with Richard, because we didn't make it either. At the end, we didn't even finish the workout. It was so hard. But that was the point. He was like, let's see how much pain you can bring. And the fact and the matter of people, everybody left going, what the fuck just happened? Because they're all like, oh, I thought I was in shape. I'm like, but that's not that. VO2 max is extremely important.
Yes.
You have to be able to use the lactate. Don't get me wrong.
And for practically any sport that's not fucking 1 rep maxes, you need it.
You need it.
And you need it for your, and also
there's
I
very
think,
few sports.
also, and I think you need it for your life and for your overall health.
No question.
I don't think there's any doubt about that at all. So,
like, try to do jiu-jitsu, try to do rugby. Even if there's no running, like, there's so few sports where you don't need a VO2 max. There's no question that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why CrossFit works so well and stuff like that. But that doesn't, like, there is the other part of the arch. You need Disney December, and you need burn the questions. And then you go in the middle and go do your CrossFit, your jiu-jitsu, your grappling, all that stuff. But you need that once a week, except for the month of January, you're going to do it twice a week. And then, which means you're going to be shot by the month of January. And then in February, you'll go back to once a week because you won't make it past a month.
Yeah.
But
so,
you're going to need to go there.
Help me out because I'm in this situation. We're going to hear this. I don't have access to a sled.
Okay. You go
I'm training in a global gym right now.
Let me explain. You go to the nearest Home Depot.
Yeah.
They have those wooden pallets.
Okay.
You borrow a couple, not steal, allegedly, but borrow a couple. You come back and you go find some wooden sticks or whatever that you stick in it, and you have a sled.
So we don't want to do any sort of equipment replacing or anything like that. We just want to stick it with sleds. Do that thing.
Sleds.
Okay.
If you have a techno gym, but
we have one at my gym.
The techno gym is great.
You can fucking terrify everyone in that place when you go hard on it. Whatever. That's their problem. Not
That's
mine,
their problem. But find a parking lot, a wooden pallet, and you're fine.
Okay.
No, like I'm past that moment where I'll give people.
That's what I know too. Is I know we're gonna get a bunch of it. It's like, well, I don't know. Go somewhere and do something.
Right. So you're in Sweden and it's snowing and there's 2 meters of snow outside. Find me a techno gym and do stuff like that, or grow some balls and do it on the ice.
Yeah.
I had plenty of people sending me pictures of them doing it in the fucking snow.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Like, I'm so tired of excuses on stuff like that. I was like, I did it on the parking lot in Torrance where it was so hot, like you start to have blisters on your finger from having to put your hands.
Yep.
Yeah, put gloves. I'm like, fuck it, man. Just keep pushing. Like, at that stage, I don't even feel it anymore. Like Chris Moore, when he came to do, like, he burned his fingers.
Yeah.
On the parking lot because it was so hot. I passed out face first on the parking lot, so I just cooked half of my face. I mean, like, if the conversation starts, yes, but I'm like, there you go. And you know what? That's why you should be doing it.
Yeah.
Because burn the questions.
If it starts with how you can't do it.
I am tired of people starting their conversation and explaining to me why they can't do something.
It's a really interesting thing that we come into with almost everything. With nutrition, with training stuff. And that's the thing is it's often not even, I don't want anyone to take this personally. It's not even like you do, but it's not even like their first, like they know it or they're trying to avoid it. But in our shoes, we present these things and what I see is a lot of just instant quit coming in sometimes.
Why I can't do, let me explain to you why I can't do it. I'm like, I do not care. And understand all of this. I am not telling you what to do. I'm saying this is what I think, this is what I study. Prove me wrong if you want to. But after that, if you come to explain to me why you cannot do something, I do not care. Do not waste my time. If you're going to talk to me about how much you died on that sled. I'm willing to listen to that.
Yeah.
Like how much you change your life, what you learn about yourself, I'm willing to entertain pages of emails of that.
Yeah.
But if the first thing out of your mouth is to explain to me your excuses, I'm like, I'm not your dad.
Yeah.
I do not care. I don't even care when Yaya tells me that. So you're not going to get a better treatment out of me than she gets.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yes, there are excuses. There's always excuses.
Yeah.
There's good ones too, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so find one and fuck off.
Yeah. When I always tell people this all the time, it's like, I need you to find reasons to do this. I can't present you, that's the hard part, right? So here we spend an hour presenting to you the reasons that you should do this and why we think
find me a reason why you can't.
And all of that. And your first thing is to find a reason why you can't. That's kind of rough. But, it should be fine. Okay, so now you've explained this. We've explained this, and I would like to have people like, perfect, I'm going to do it. Here's how I'm going to do it.
But understand too, like we're not just two person doing a podcast, we're human beings too.
Yeah.
And when the first thing you do is coming up with an excuse, you offend me as a human being. Like, because what you want out of life is what I am so afraid of.
Averageness.
You are an agent of averageness when you explain to me what your excuses are. I don't care. I don't want to be you.
Yeah.
So don't, I need a shower after. Don't come and explain to me why your life is average. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm offering you a way not to be average. I'm offering you a way to get out of averageness. Do not try to pull me into it. This is how it feels to me. Like in all those zombie movies where they're in the water and they drag the guy underwater, this is how it feels to me. Like you are trying to pull me into the depth of averageness.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to do so. So, you fucking zombie, let me go. That's how it feels like. I'm like, I don't care.
So
I don't care.
Twice a week for a month.
Just for a month.
Just a month.
It will crush you, by the way. So you're gonna have to do a lot of Disney December.
When I program for people, like,
it'll fuck you up.
Traditionally, it's once a week.
Yes.
Normally. So this is going to be a
Don't do
big
it
dose.
twice a week past a month. I just want to teach you something for the month of January, which is it will crush you. By week 3, you're done. Like you're going to go, how do I make to week 4? And week 4 is where you'll burn the questions.
So you think that, like, so in my case too, that I'm going to have to not only just continue, but probably step up and increase my active meditation, the Disney
Definitely.
December stuff.
So honestly, the month of January will be lots of Disney December and twice a week to burn the questions, because most likely the rest of your training is going to take a beating.
Okay. Which seems reasonable.
I think
guess.
we bothered the owners.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Because we're screaming. But it will impact your training for the month of January. Like if you think you're going to add that to your typical CrossFit stuff 6 times a week, you're mistaken.
Yeah. All right. What you have any hints as far as what's next for next month? Do you have
February?
anything? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell us?
No.
Fuck. All right. That just means now what's going to happen is we're going to film like 4 other episodes in the next 4 days. None of them are going to be that.
Yeah.
And then we're already to February, and then you're going to release that one like, God damn it, Julian. Okay.
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. Keeping you on your toes, man.
Well, I mean, I think we got everything out that we need to on this one. They're probably wondering
January
if we
for you?
rented this Airbnb just to make porn. I think is what they're thinking with the tripod. So.
Because we keep saying I don't care, and then
Yeah. So, but, well, thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next week. We'll be, just so you know, we have all sorts of super cool spots up here that we kind of want to
So we're going
film
to
at.
bother the owners of the house next to us instead of the owners of the house. We are here.
Yeah. So, but thanks for listening. Everything is at strongfit.com, strongfitequipment.com, n.eu, julianscorner.com, strongfit1 on Instagram, Tyler Effin Stone, UK32, Rare Barracuda. Support the podcast at podcast.strongfit.com. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe if you're listening where you're listening. Leave us a review because other people tell us that it's important. And God, I'm almost out of steam. Manta Fitness in Australia.
We're still tired from the flight.
Yeah,
That was an old plane.
12-hour flight in a 40-year-old plane with no cell phone chargers.
I don't remember last time I've been, mentally I'm okay, but physically jet lag like that.
Yeah.
You know, they say jet lag is a matter of how old the plane is because like all the, the pressure.
pressure, yeah.
Physically, I haven't been that jet lag in a long time. Like
I get off the plane
hurt.
too, and I'm like, it's like 2 or 3 days of just water retention, where it's just like I just feel bloat.
just my joints, like my shoulders,
Yeah.
everything just aches. Like I felt like I'm nauseous yesterday all day. Like that one was hard.
Yeah, it's been a weird couple days of like waking up in the middle of the night, going to sleep in the afternoon, just trying to make it work. I've
The
been
training
a
session
mess.
was good today, but
Both my training sessions have been
But
great,
I had to warm up for a while because today was rough.
Yeah.
Like to warm up.
Yeah,
The
I had
session went great,
today. I had like my segments that I wanted to get to, and then I was like, "All right, I'm gonna try some
20
front
minutes to get
squatting
there, yeah.
after this." And then when I was done, I was like we had talked about the active meditation or something to bring me down. I was like, "Fuck, there's a fucking basketball court in this gym," and so I could shoot some hoops with some guy that was a little better from 3-point range than I was, but. No, it was fun. It was good training sessions. Training went well, but my sleep has got to get back on point. We'll probably get it together just in time to fly back home.
And get crushed the other way. Yeah.
Yeah,
But at
so-
least we'll be home rituals and everything.
Yep.
Like the sugar here, as usual. I feel it every time, man.
I've been pretty good.
But that's the thing is, eating what I eat back home. It's yogurt, like carrots,
Oh yeah, you got to pay
beets.
extra attention. Yeah.
Except but even when there's no sugar, they still put sugar. They put sugar in the meat, in the red meat.
Yeah.
I had to go check at Whole Foods. Sugar cane.
No shit.
Yeah. Because I was like, what does it taste sweet? Everything tastes sweet. So I tried to get like a chai latte, no sugar. So yeah, no sugar added. Right. Except, so
All
I
the
have to
sugar,
have literally
yeah.
a tea bag in oat milk. Otherwise, so everything is like that. Like it's a nightmare. The amount of sugar in the food here is, even a Whole Foods where it's supposed to be good, like some of the vegetables taste sweet.
Like candy.
Guys, like this is opioid crisis. Wait until the food industry crisis hits.
Yeah.
Then you'll realize how. We should have an episode on this one day.
I should find like all my greatest food
But
subject
remember the
conspiracies
Oprah
out
stuff
there.
when she criticized like the hamburger stuff and
Yeah.
she got sued by the food industry? Cost her $1 million to get through the stuff. She won, but she lost $1 million.
Yeah.
And like you're not allowed to criticize, to say stuff out loud. It's insane. We all talk about nutrition and all the guys on Joe Rogan getting pissed about vegan versus this versus that. No one is talking about the shit that goes into the food.
Yeah, or that,
Isn't that insane?
or that on the vegan or the meat eating side of things, there is dog shit processed food at the centerpiece of both of those
Right.
things.
If you
often.
think vegan is
Like, that's what's been promoted.
healthier because of this or that, it's like, did you see how they make it?
Yeah, my
You see
thing
how
is
much
always this
carbs
is like
they
it's like the process. It's the process nature of it that bothers me.
It has to be at least part of the conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Conversation for another day.
Yep.
All right,
That would be
guys. Thanks a
podcast.
lot. We will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.